Welcome to the Landing Zone podcast. I'm your host, UPSer Lloyd Knights. This podcast is dedicated to help veteran service members and spouses find their next career. And on this episode, we have longtime great friend and fellow podcast host, Kevin Horgan. Welcome to the Landing Zone, Kevin.
Lloyd, thanks for having me. I do appreciate it.
So Kevin and I have a long history of appearing on podcasts together, from the Veterans Breakfast Club up in Pittsburgh, Veteran Voices, through a Supply Chain Now. He was the very first guest on this podcast when we were doing it on audio. And I was looking through past episodes and noticed, wow, I don't have Kevin on a video podcast. And this podcast is now 100% video. And I wanted everybody to see his ugly mug.
Well, I have a face made for radio.
Kevin is a Marine Corps veteran, and if you've been around me, you've heard me say many times I had no use for Marines when I was in the Air Force, but now my post-military life, I absolutely love Marines because they make it happen. Not always like I would want it to happen, but they make it happen. You give them something to do and step out of their way, and they get it done. So, Kevin, let's go back to how we met the first time. Do you remember how we met?
Barely. I do remember one incident that someone in our group, and it wasn't you, and I won't mention any names, but his initials are Chris, called the Marine Corps hymn, the Marine Corps song, and I have never forgiven him.
Well, I'm going to remind you. So I started the very first Veterans Business Resource Group at UPS. And Kevin, that's hard to believe. That was over 13 years ago. And it was Jordan Kellett, a Coast Guard veteran. And we were hosting American Corporate Partners events with the Home Depot and AT&T and General Electric. And it was our turn to host. And we were up at UPS Supply Chain Solutions corporate office in Alpharetta, in the office I was at. And we were maybe hosting. It was a pretty big event for the early days. I think we probably had 50 to 75 veterans there, and probably another 50 to 75 advocates that were there to help them. And we had resume reviews and mock job interviews and a great panel discussion. And Kevin shows up. I hadn't met Kevin, and he walks in the room. He's got his Marine Corps lapel pin on, and he talks to the very first veteran there, and the guy happened to be a Marine, and he asked him where his lapel pin was. well, sir, I don't have one. And Kevin busted his chops, but in Kevin's truest format, because he is a gentleman, he actually took his lapel pin off and handed it to the guy. And when I first saw you do that, I was like, oh, crikey, I don't need another Marine in my life, and he's going to bust my chops. And then I saw the heart, and we've been friends ever since then, and many different endeavors.
Well, the punchline to that is I've never seen that guy again. So goodness knows where he is right now. I hope he's healthy and happy.
Yeah, I don't even remember who it was. So I did run into some pictures of that event the other day, and it just shows you how long ago it was, because the pictures were really grainy. Yeah, I think we took it with a flip phone or a BlackBerry.
It's crazy stuff. It's really it's almost 13 years of Atlanta. It's pushing 12 years right now. And what a great organization that you've created from that. It's been a great run, Lloyd. It really has. It's been fun.
Yeah, we've truly made a difference. And if you're not from Atlanta, one of my things I'm trying to do is rebrand the city. So the San Antonio calls themselves Military City USA. And definitely, I think Atlanta needs to be known as Veteran City USA, because we have so much going on, not only with Vetlanta, but with all the big employers that we have here, UPS being one of the big ones, but other nonprofits that are in this area as well. And we have some great academia and government agencies that are just knocking it out for veterans here. So really a wonderful city. If you haven't checked us out and you're a service member, veteran, or spouse looking to make a move, definitely check out the greater Atlanta area.
Absolutely. We're staying. We love it here.
Yeah, I've been here retired from the Air Force 18 years ago and moved here with my late wife and two sons, and it's home. I actually had a big financial institution that is known to support veterans call and offered me a job in the veteran space just a couple months ago, and it was going to come with a move. And I absolutely did not want to move and didn't really entertain the offer because the Atlanta area is great. It is, as you said, it's home.
It's wonderful. It's really wonderful. Plus, the airport, you can get anywhere in the world on a direct flight. That's a key element. And it has a very, now I'm from New Jersey. I guess you could tell I'm not from Georgia, right? But it has a very strong Northeast feel to it. The restaurants are great. There's an active theater district. It really has everything you could want. And in a very selfish sense, as a grandparent now, every community is built around children and their activities. So it's endearing in many, many respects.
Yeah, I mean, same thing. I love the airport. Kevin and I are both travelers. Love, doing stuff in the city. Sports. Definitely a great sports town. This last weekend, I was up in the Appalachian Trail. Sarah and I did a 10-mile hike and spent the night at the hike in up in Amacola Falls. So absolutely wonderful that you can be in nature so quick, and it's such a green city as well. You notice when you fly in, especially when in the spring and summer, how green everything is compared to most metropolitan areas.
And so great air conditioning for those of you who don't want to go walking around in the woods or anything,
Let's talk a little bit about how you got to Atlanta. So you joined the Marines shortly after college.
Yeah, I graduated with a BA in English Literature from St. Bonaventure University in the magical and mysterious Allegheny foothills in upstate New York. A couple months later, I joined the Marines and started going to OCS. Now, the interesting thing about OCS in 1979, I went on October 15th, if you recall, and I'm aging myself here because it's over 45 years ago, right? On November the 4th of 1979, the Iranians took over the U.S. Embassy in Tehran. So that was, things went from crazy to out of control. We all thought we were going to Iran immediately, and that's kind of leveled out our training. Basic school, infantry officer school. I was privileged to attend a scout sniper instructor school, and then I made it out to the fleet the last day of 1980. Spent a total of 5 years in the Marine Corps, almost 3 years in the fleet with 3rd Platoon, Fox Company, 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines, 1st Marine Division. Did what we call the Liberty Pump, Okinawa, the Philippines, Thailand, training, et cetera, et cetera. I was nothing special. I was never shot at or anything like that. And came back, and I wound up spending a year and a half on the parade deck in MCRD San Diego. Lifelong service. Unlike what Lloyd did, that's a real calling. It didn't call to me at all. So I started loading trucks for UPS and attending night law school the same day in August of 1984. By then, I was married. We had 2 little babies, and we were living in my in-laws' basement. And that's how life started at UPS for me.
Loading trucks.
Yeah,
so
amen.
But Kevin went on to do some amazing things at UPS. So they recognized who you were and the attitude and the zeal that you bring to the fight. So what was your first full-time position at UPS?
My first full-time position was actually as a driver. At the time, you had to successfully drive a UPS package car. and make books, so to speak. And they put pretty much a 3-month clock on that. And that's what I did, 3 months and a day. I went into the prestigious and fashionable industrial engineering department. I knew nothing about that. To give you an indication of what engineering was like in those days, we had to get retrained on the slide rule. And that's how we did things. Long division, calculators were something that were as big as a stovetop range, had to get plugged into the wall. I needed permission. People lined up to use them. I remember the first week when I was promoted into IE, and this is in North Jersey in the Parsippany building. It was July of 1985. Dennis O'Toole, if he's still around, God bless him. He gave me the opportunity. Cal Darden was the district manager who promoted me, and I got half a dozen great Cal stories. I was there a week, and they brought in one of those old computer. It was new then. It was old to us now. It's about the size of a large screen tube TV, right? You remember how it ate up a whole desk and, big display with the keyboard and all that stuff, a separate speaker. And there's about 8 of us standing around him. And Dennis points to that machine. And he goes, with this computer, I'm going to be able to eliminate half of your jobs.
Wow.
I'd been there a week, and I'm like, oh boy, in this cage match, I got to win. So I tried to master the computer as much as possible. But of course, there was one guy in there who really knew what he was doing. So he brokered the whole thing, and we just fed him material. The interesting thing about it was a year later, all 8 of us had our own computers, and we were producing much, much more. And then the department itself, as a company, was growing at a 7, 10, 15% clip in the mid-'80s. It was astounding. And part of that was the advent of the Next Day Air product in Louisville and what it could do to logistics. We were moving, it depended on who you talk to, we were moving 6 to 10% of the GDP of the United States. It was us. It was all us. FedEx had created, and I'm sorry, Lloyd, for using the F word on your podcast, but they had created the industry of next day service, and there was a demand for it. It was startling, and we had to get in on it. During this time, I was in what you call engineering, which is basically a planning. We were kind of the S2, S3, if you will, of UPS. We helped the operators plan things, and God made the operator first. I mean, don't get it wrong. A lot of people think that depending on what the function you're in, that you're more important, but that's farthest from the case. The people that deliver the goods, people that sort the goods, people that transport the goods, and the people that lead, manage, direct, and train them, those are the most important people in the business. Everybody else is the rent seekers, to tell you the truth, because you can do without them. So you need that quality operator. I was fortunate enough, and this is a UPS podcast, so I'm going to stick to UPS parlance. I bounced in between IE section leader jobs and hub manager, which I was the hub manager for a project. It was in Bound Brook that we had expanded the building, and that was my responsibility as a planner. And then Joe Farinacci, God love that man, he said, all right, you planned it, you run it. Well, he let me run it for about 3 months. I ran that thing right into the ground, and he said, okay, that's enough. We're going to stop with this silliness. You're going to go back to planning stuff. And they put a real operator in there, and he ran with it. He did a great job with it. They put me as a manager in a couple operating centers, and they decided we got to get this guy out of operations. So they put me into IE. They promoted me. I went to upstate New York for 3 years, Pittsburgh for 6 years. That was a great run. Loved Pittsburgh. Loved upstate New York, up in Syracuse too. Spent 3 years in Northern California. That was a trip and a half, and I love California. I'm a little bit to the right of Attila the Hun, but I like crazy. And I like the vibe in California, northern and southern. We lived in both places. but we lived in Northern California in San Francisco, and I really did like the city. And then we went back to New Jersey. I returned to the scene of the crime. Now, these are people I grew up with are still in the district, and everybody's a little grayer and has lost a step or two. And now I'm the IE manager. People would come into the office, friends, and they would say, "Oh, man, you got to hear about this." And I'm like, no. I don't want to hear about this because you tell me I have to do something. So please, for the love of Mike, don't. And then from there, they had one of several hostile takeovers. We jokingly referred to it in the end of the OOs. In 2009, I took the IE manager job in South Carolina, North Carolina. And that was a great run because there were some good people there. And we had fun. We thought we were going to wind up staying there. I'm in my 50s at this point in time. And then they had the real big turnover. And they went from like 46 district IE managers, my job, my level. And they went from 46 to like 17. And that was seismic. And for a 50-year-old guy who they were not going to be promoted, I wasn't going to get promoted at this point in time. I was the odd man out, but I got the golden ticket. I was fortunate enough. UPS paid for my legal education. In large part, they paid for it back in the 80s. I had passed the bar, but I had nothing to offer the legal department. I had no legal experience, unless somebody wanted to discuss the merits of loading package cars in the middle of the night. And I don't think anybody wanted to do that. But in 2010, the real estate function was losing an attorney that was reviewing contracts, simple real estate contracts, buy, sell, lease, etc. And I interviewed briefly for the job. And when I say briefly, it was a 3-minute phone call. And the gentleman in charge of it, who had advanced degrees in law, God bless him, Chuck Altamari, a wonderful guy. He's since retired, of course. And and I said, Chuck, I don't know the first thing about real estate. I don't know the first thing about contracts. I don't know. I don't even know where to start. As much as I appreciate this, he goes, "No, we don't teach this stuff in law school. No, I'm going to teach you how to do this. Don't worry about it. It's fine." And it was great. It literally changed our lives. And I'm eternally grateful. The funny thing, Lloyd, and I don't know if I mentioned this to you, Lloyd and I, we talk all the time about all kinds of nonsense, but I've been retired 8 years. I only worked as an attorney in the corporate office for 7.
Wow.
I've actually been retired longer than I actually worked in Georgia. So I'm officially the old guy that yells at people, get off my lawn,
get off my grass.
Stuff. Yeah, and your dog too. So that's me. That's me. But
let's
UPS
walk it
has been
back.
a great run.
Let's walk it back a little bit. You passed the bar. How long did you study for the bar?
Well, I took it twice because the first time I didn't really like the ambient. No, I flunked it the first time. About a third of the people fail it the first time. It's a test, right? So I studied for the bar kind of the first time. Honestly, half-assed. I thought I was going to just walk in and take the test and pass it. The second time I studied in earnest because I didn't want to take it too many times, right? And I passed. I passed the second time. Most people who take it twice, they pass it the second time. And that was a New Jersey bar, and I only applied for the District of Columbia bar. I thought that would be both impressive and important and long range, and it turned out to be neither. But it was, I put it on my CV, and there you have it. So, and I never practiced. I did a couple DUIs for friends and relatives. All right, take care of people in that respect. I had to do some pro bono work, and hopefully those people are no longer incarcerated. That's a joke.
My cousin Vinny.
Yeah. So, but my legal experience, I could stick in my eye and make it feel better. It's just very little.
So what did you really like about working in operations?
You know what? Here's the thing. The pace of it is amazing. And I'm going to borrow something from a friend of mine who has also since retired. We worked together on PD-10 on the Parsippany preload back in 1985 and 86. His name is Joel Foster. He's a money manager now, and but he was a sorter on PD10, and I was the IE guy, and I went to him with a lot of different things. What he said about operations in the day was really interesting because I was coaching him. I wanted him to go into supervision because he had something. Well, he had a degree, and he was a pretty quick-witted guy. And he said, I don't want the headaches of management. And I go, what are you talking about? He goes, well, in management, specifically in the staff functions, you're dragging your job around every day. You drag it home with you. You sleep with it. You eat with it, all that stuff. The beauty of operations is that it starts and finishes. And when it's done, you're done. You go home. Yeah. And he goes, you can literally throw your uniform in a locker and go have a beer or go play Little League with the kids or just wash up and have a nice meal. And that's the beauty of operations. It's very intense. It's UPS. It's physical. And that's endearing to a lot of people. A lot of people with college degrees, I will count myself among them. I want to be doing something with my hands. I'm at a stage now. I just want to sit on my dead butt all day. But at that time in my life, just going to the gym wasn't going to be fulfilling to people that like physical activity. So the beauty of operations is you got plenty of physical activity. You're outside. In most respects, you are the captain of your own ship. And if you have good management people with you, they will let you just do your job. Just do it safely and just get it done. And that's it. So if I had a single one thing, not to ramble too much about it, is the people I worked with in operations are now the oldest friends I have. Okay. The oldest friends I have include a couple of boys from high school, a whole pile of guys from the Marine Corps, some of whom were lifers, some of whom got out in 3, 4, 5 years. And of course, the operators at UPS, the oldest friends I have. It's just just an amazing crew, intense, loyal, and fun. They left. Everything was an opportunity to have a laugh. Yeah.
So why do veterans do so well in operations at UPS?
That's interesting you say that because I think because there are some opposites. One of the opposites is in the military, you know who you're talking to at all times because they have rank. So you know what their level of responsibility is. If they're wearing an Alpha or a Bravo or even a Charlie uniform, you see their experience is on their chest, whether they jumped out of planes, whether they've been in combat, whether they've been decorated, whether they've never done anything but left the States. It's displayed on their chest. So you know exactly who you're talking to. In fact, with the Alpha uniforms, there's service stripes, which dictate the number of years in brackets that the person's been in the service. So even though you may outrank somebody in the military, you must show a certain amount of deference to experience. So that's the tough part about being at UPS. What's endearing about it is you get to call your boss by his or her first name. All right. That was something because the yes or no, sir stuff can get old real fast, especially if there's a chemical problem in the military with your superior or you just don't like each other or you don't have no respect for the person. So the yes or no, sir stuff gets old real quick. There's a little bit of yes or no, sir, at UPS, but it's very little. It's a policy to call your boss and peers subordinates on a first name basis. That's a policy, and I think that's a very, very good one. The other thing, though, that makes it tricky, and this is a cautionary tale for people getting out of the military. Lloyd was a load master on a plane, and those people are basically the pilot just flies the plane. The load master is God on the plane. They're deciding who gets on, who gets off, what comes in, what comes out, where everything goes. They're deciding everything that's in the plane. And it can be very serious. A weight imbalance could be fatal. Someone who's not personally secured in that's being a jerk can also cause other people to get injured. Some of the people who listen to this podcast have actually been shot at. I've only been shot at by, like a couple jealous husbands, but not in anger in combat. So veterans know the difference between major and minor. You know it right away.
Absolutely.
Well, one of the things that is difficult to do when you make that transition, it happened to me at UPS, was we were having a meeting, and I was pretty green at the place. I didn't know what the hell was going on. I didn't even know where the men's room was. It was pretty early in my management career. And somebody said, this is cannot stand. We had another misload last night. The package went to Des Moines instead of going to New York. It will not stand. And they're making it seem like it was the end of the world, that they wanted someone's head on a stick in front of the building because they mishandled one package. It's service failure is bad, all right, but it is not life and death. I started laughing when the person was going on their little tirade. And what are you laughing about to me? And I'm just like, well, we can fix that. We'll supervise a person tonight. We'll talk to everybody, and we'll go on with it. People are sorting packages right now while we're talking, sitting in this meeting, when we should be out there talking to them. That cost me a lot. It cost me a lot with that particular boss who never said it had a civil word with me again. That boss's allies. And they're all there. They all got their cliques. I don't care what business you're in. It's in the military, too. There's a little bit of a clique thing going on there. But that can hurt. But what it did, it endeared me to all the people that were tired of being yelled at for life and death things that were not life and death.
Yeah.
Okay, so sometimes you make friends. Sometimes you don't make them. In this case, it hurt me in the short term, and I think it helped me in the long term. But don't mock your boss in
good.
a corporate environment. Don't do that. Don't do it publicly. Keep your mouth shut.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to shut up in color for sure. You know, one of my hardest things was the terminology and the acronyms. You know, we think the military has a lot of terminology and acronyms. They don't compare to UPS. You know, I my first meetings, I'm like trying to have my phone out, trying to Google everything. Like, what in the world are they talking about? I remember my very first annual review. And my boss at the time was not a longtime EPSer. He had come from one of the acquisitions. He was a Navy veteran, and he told me what goals to put in. And so I put in what goals, and then he told me the results. And then the culture was very different from the Air Force. You know, in the Air Force you have ratings 1 through 5. Almost everybody gets a 5. You have to justify giving somebody a 3. And at UPS at the time, if you got a 5, you probably have a terminal illness, and they haven't told you yet. And so I remember I got a 4, and I was really upset. And so I'm like looking on my review, and like, I don't know what this means. And I remember what the big one was. It was called GRATE, GRATE. I was like, I like got a substandard score on this, and I have no idea what it means. So how can I impact it? And how am I going to be judged on it? And so I finally had to ask somebody, like, what does this mean? And it stood for gross revenue after transportation expense. And
I learned something new every day. I didn't know that.
That's a freight forwarding. Yeah. And it's a big part about something we constantly measure ourselves in that business unit. So the terminology. So I think the advice I can give you is try to find coaches, mentors. Peers are really good. If you can find a peer, especially another veteran, that is going to walk you through some of this without judging you, that's going to be really beneficial to help you, kind of expedite your transformation from a service member into a business warrior for sure. What advice would you give, Kevin?
I could write a book on it, but the first, don't mock your boss. Second, don't be a prick. Okay, we're used to, especially people that come from the infantry, instant obedience to commands. That doesn't cut it. It just does not cut it, especially with Teamsters. Teamsters will eat you before they'll do something for you. So I learned day one, I learned please and thank you and a smile goes a long way. You can say almost anything you want to somebody if you're smiling, okay? And that's more the case in the corporate world. Leave the yes sir, no sir, locking your body up and all that. Leave that stuff. It's gone. It's done. You want to be on friendly terms with everybody if possible. I'm not saying be friends. That's a mistake. You pick your friends wisely and carefully, but you want to be on friendly terms with everybody. It makes no sense being a tough guy. And I learned that lesson too. I thought that people had to do what I said as soon as I said it, and they would, every now and then people would do it. But the stronger-willed people would look at me like, what? And then, would you please take care of this for me? Absolutely. The other thing is, and as I think of it, UPSers always like to do favors for people, whether they know them or not. You know the adage, if you want something done, you ask a busy person. I believe that's 100% true. If you ask a UPSer, hey, I need some help with this, can you help me? Invariably, that person will hurt themselves to help you. Now, it's not all transactional. They're not all going to take it and just, all right, I'm putting that in here. I'll pull that thing out some other day when I need something from you. That's not the case. They want to help you. They absolutely want to help you. One of the things that we had, and this is, I'm going back 45 years, right? We had a telephone rule. There was an unwritten policy at UPS. Don't let the phone ring more than twice. Because the phone is a lifeline. It was and this is landline phones. This is well before, these goofy things which control our lives now. But nobody, they let it ring out, let it go to voicemail, let it go to text. It's a constant communication with passive aggressive allowances, given the fact that no, I didn't have my phone with me. And everybody knows you're lying, okay? But the old rule was don't let the phone ring more than twice because somebody's calling because they need something. And not necessarily a favor. It may be a lifeline. You need to help that person out. And I think UPSers invariably always want to help other UPSers out.
Yeah, that's phenomenal, Kevin. So, hey, we're out of time. So that just flew by as usual. Thank you once again, Kevin Horgan. So, hey, how can people contact you if they need some more advice? Or Kevin is a distinguished author. He's one of my favorite authors out there. He's got a couple books in the background, and including one of his latest, Bed Bugs too. So, how can our viewers reach out to you?
A couple ways. The website is kevinhorganbooks.com. kevinhorganbooks.com. My email address, for those of you who want, I don't know if it's displayed or not, I don't know what the deal is, but email is KHORG13. KHORG13 @gmail. And you can look me up. My phone number, all that stuff is public. It's on. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on all that goofy stuff. This Vets Talk over my shoulder. Lloyd's going to help me recast all that, and hopefully I can hold on to his coattails while he takes this podcast into the stratosphere. So there you have it. Got a lot of stuff going on. Happy, busy. I got T-ball practice tomorrow night of 5:30. 4-year-olds. Yeah. And
he's got a very spicy blog too, but we're not going to get into that. So I'm going to close it on this. We'd love to see you at UPS if you're a veteran, a transitioning service member or spouse. You're not in this alone. So reach out to Kevin or myself. Definitely check out upsjobs.com. For out there, reach out to me on LinkedIn and go find those agencies that can help you make the transition. There's so many good ones out there. Hire Heroes USA, American Corporate Partners, 4Block, just to name a few. And if you're in the greater Atlanta area, check out vetlanta.org. Our next summit is going to be May 7th at UPS corporate headquarters. Really excited about that. The theme is resilient leadership, and we got this cat's fascinating. Ryan Hendrickson. Get this, Kevin. Ryan is a Navy, Air Force, and Army Green Beret veteran. So with a phenomenal story, and now he clears mines for fun.
Okay, so what, he couldn't hold a job, so he kept hopping around to different
Yeah,
services?
I'll let you discuss that with him. So,
right. Okay.
Great. So thank you for tuning in. Be safe, be kind, and be remarkable.
Okay. Thanks, Lloyd.